to order. It's 4:30. Can we have the roll call, please? Yes.
Yes.
Present.
Yes.
From. Present.
Present.
Ms. Smiley. Okay. Do I hear a motion that we adopt the agenda?
I move that it
Do I hear?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of adopting the agenda, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, if you'll stand and for the Pledge of Allegiance, and a moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, do I hear, do you all have the minutes from the September 22nd meeting? And were there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, do I hear a motion that we approve the minutes as presented? Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed? All right. We have a short agenda today. We're going to have an energy presentation, and I am to turn it over to Heather.
Good afternoon, school board members, Dr. Thornton, Mr. Carter, and board supervisors. Today, we would like to show a presentation that our sixth grade students from last year put together for energy conservation and a project to learn about energy. They did an energy audit in our school where they went around and looked at what kind of lights that we have. They measured the water and the flow of the water and how much water we had coming out, and they put all this information together, and we have a video that we would like to share with you because they later on went and presented not only before our school board members, but also at the Virginia School Board Association Conference. And we had 12 students to go and attend to present before school board members throughout the entire state of Virginia. This was done in conjunction with Johnson Controls as they led our students in this energy audit, and we would like for you to take a look at this video.
Is to get kids aware of potential energy savings, potential water savings within their own schools, but also have a broader picture of what makes an efficient building. This is something they can carry on to their own houses. This is something they can carry on to their work later in life. It's also a good learning experience for them to learn about everything from green environmental standards to building efficiency standards.
We have right here, we're seeing people put on schools all across Virginia. I would suggest that if you're looking for something on a level to compare the old end to, this new end of the building is pretty good. So if you want an example of what to do correctly, this is a good place to look.
Okay, it's 20 minutes, 5 seconds on. When I say go, it means go. It's good to take
the measurements, see, all three times were a little bit less than 25 gallons per minute. So we can say that we're probably around half gallon a minute or 0.4.
Window like what was in some of the newer classrooms. But one of the best insulators is that block of air between the glass. Having 2 panes of glass with that layer of air in between works great as an insulator, whereas having 1 pane of glass doesn't work great as an insulator. Even if you seal all the leaks and everything's working the way it should, just having 1 pane of glass versus 2 makes a difference. Working with the students, and the amazing thing, speaking from somebody who's worked on Johnson Controls, is the perceptive students and the things they catch on to that we, even as professional engineers, necessarily see. Things as simple as keeping something clean so it functions better, spotting water leaks that they know is a waste of water and also a waste of money, safety issues, inefficiency issues where you might see a boiler running and an air conditioner running in the same room. We're all blown away by how minds aren't encumbered by too much formal learning can use what they've learned in their own classroom and apply it to improving their schools and improving their homes and improving their towns.
Well, I have 2 things. One, I want to have a audit. I've done an audit in my house this week. And two, I've learned that how to save energy and what we can do to save energy. And we gotta let people learn that we gotta actually save energy because it does make a difference. Some people don't want to save energy and consider it, and I don't think that having the energy running constantly 24/7 and it might add up to a big bill. But in reality, when you're using it, the bill is constantly adding up, day after day after day. I think one that's important is that you need to update your older products in your house and your older appliances, because usually those are really slow lots of energy. They don't actually start thinking about saving the energy. They're not just thinking, well, this adult should save energy, but they might just be thinking about saving the money and stuff. But the kids, if they think about it, the adults are like, wow, my kid is saving energy, why not? And I've been, thinking about my surroundings, like when somebody leaves the light on out, then you go in the kitchen and turn it off, or stuff like that.
So as you can see, our students learned a lot, but they also taught us a lot. And they brought to us ways that we could actually save energy in our own schools and things that we need to do in our own schools. Again, they took this further to further audiences, and they went to the Virginia School Board Association. And during this conference and throughout the whole year, our school board members have been learning about energy performance contracting. And so tonight we have with us Charlie Barksdale, and he's from the Virginia Department of Mines, Minerals, and Energy. He is the Utilities and Performance Contracting Manager, and he is helping us go through the back of the envelope audit. And so he's going to explain that a little bit more to us.
Good evening. My name's Charlie Barksdale. I would like to make this very informal, so if you have questions as I go through these slides, I understand some of you may already know about this process, so if it's too slow or too redundant, speak up, I'll move along. But the more questions you ask, the better off it is for you to understand how this works. And yes, ma'am.
For you all on the Board of Supervisors, actually, Ms. Garner, Mr. Bullock and I attended the school board conference, and we went to a presentation for this. Since then, we've also had another presentation done for the entire school board about this performance contracting. So we wanted you all to see it as we're going through this, the back of the envelope.
Okay. So again, if you have questions as I move along, please speak up. Very informal. I do these all the time, and that's the best way to get the information out. Legislation was passed in 2001 for performance contracting in Virginia. It's not something new. It's been tested in the Commonwealth. For those of you that don't know what it does, it allows you to pay for energy upgrades in your facilities by reallocating existing energy dollars. The General Assembly set this up to be budget neutral if you do a true energy project, and I'll get into that a little bit later. Using a self-funding project frees up existing dollars to fund other unfunded needs. Looking on your website, I saw some information about looking at building schools, things like that. This program allows you to pay for the work you do, and you're budget neutral. You use the money you're already giving the utility companies. That allows money that you have in hand to go towards other things that are unfunded. And what we're hearing from Richmond, and I guess some of you may already know this, money's going to get pretty tight, if it not already is, and it's going to get worse from what we're hearing. So this is a very good vehicle for people to get work done in their facilities and be budget neutral. Energy Services Performance Contracting, ESPC. A lot of acronyms in this business, and if I throw some out, please stop me and I'll explain them. It's a DGS contract. It's a statewide for all public bodies, which is what you're using. There are 18 pre-qualified ESCOs, which are energy service companies. You can see through here that we've got all the big players on our contract. So they're there. You can select from them. Understand you've already started the process, and they've selected 6 instead of 4, but the minimum is 4 from the pre-qualified pool. They've already done that. I think they've already had their kickoff meeting. The ESCOs will then come back and perform what's called the back of the envelope audit. You'll interview and discuss the audits, select 1 or more ESCOs to negotiate with, select 1 as your energy partner, and we negotiate some things, and then you'll sign a memorandum of understanding or an MOU for the next phase, which is the investment grade energy audit. Upon completion of the investment grade energy audit, you get to define the project, the ESCO doesn't. Of course, you're limited to doing work that actually pays for itself. You can't do things that don't pay for themselves. That's the code. That's a code requirement, unless you add capital dollars to the project. You negotiate the contract. I'm here tonight at Heather's request, and I am here throughout the entire process to help the school system with this project. I'll be here to evaluate what the ESCOs do, to give her my advice, or you my advice on what you should and should not do, whether or not it's realistic savings or not, and it's all at no cost to the school system. That last one I'll get to in a minute. Support from all levels of management. It's very important. I think that's why we're here now, and probably we'll have follow-up meetings with both boards. Financing options, state government, we'll skip that. Public bodies, you can use a tax-exempt lease purchase. Virginia Resources Authority, I don't know if you're aware of it, but December 10th through 12th, the governor's having an infrastructure financing conference in Roanoke. VRA is sponsoring that. We have public bodies from all over the state attending this, and it's all about how to fund projects within your facilities through VRA, Virginia Resources Authority. You can get bonds through your governing authority, third-party financing, or you can do an outright purchase. You can pay cash. Most public bodies, schools, cities, towns, wastewater treatment plants, most of those folks are doing tax-exempt lease purchase because it's That's the best way to do it right now. Local dollars can be used to buy down the project. The actual code states that you can put capital contributions into these projects for the purchase and installation of energy conservation and facility and technology infrastructure upgrades and modernization measures that cannot be totally funded by energy and operational savings. That's a mouthful, so you know it's got to come from the code. CIP, Capital Improvement Program, Maintenance Reserve, which is a state term, which is the same thing as CIP. You can use out-of-pocket dollars or capital dollars. What this means is that you have a project and you have a lot of mechanical needs in your schools, and your energy savings won't quite cover the cost of that. You can, it's like making a down payment on a car. You can take money in your pocket, buy it down to where it cash flows with the money you borrow, because the code requires that if you borrow money for these projects, they have to be paid for. The borrowed money has to be paid for through the energy savings each year. It has to be revenue neutral to what your payment is. So the energy savings has to offset that payment each year. And that's in the code. A lot of people ask me about, do we have to do just energy projects in these? No, you don't. Because that same clause says facility and infrastructure upgrades and modernization measures. We have a lot of schools, I noticed the cameras and this cards access here. We have a lot of school systems that have actually put in security measures through performance contracts. Security vestibules, this school is primed for that because you have that big open door. They can put a security wall up there and have card access, have a big bulletproof window where somebody can see who's coming to the window, through the door, and they have to be buzzed in. They can't just walk in. Things like that you can do because it's an upgrade. Oops, hit the wrong button. You can do other technological and modernization measures, and I don't know if you're analog or digital on your phone systems, but you can do voice over IP and upgrade all your communications, your intercom systems, and things like that. Call buttons from the classrooms, all those things can be done through performance contract. Define your project. What are your greatest needs? You probably know them better, but the ESCOs, when they come in, if you finally select a partner, they will do an audit that will tell you everything you need to know about your schools, where you can make a decision on what you want to do. It could be chillers. I don't know if you have any steam systems in your schools. High energy cost, high water consumption. We saw that in the little film. Building envelope. We've done roofs, windows, doors, all those things. Boilers, HVAC equipment, variable frequency drives on air handlers, lighting, controls, you name it, we've done it. And I'm going to go into this to a little bit more detail if that's okay. After you define your needs and give consideration on how you would like to finance your project, select a minimum 4, which you've done 6. Refer to the contractor qualifications, you've done that. You didn't sole source it, but you can do it if over 50% of your schools have a control system in them and the control company is one of the ESCOs. The contract does allow you to do that. But everything else in the contract has to be bid out by the ESCO, minimum 3 bids. Okay? I always make them do that anyway, so we get the best value for the taxpayer, because I'm one of them. Select the facilities to include in the BOE, you've done that. Kickoff meeting, you've done that. You have to provide them with certain information. I'm sure they're contacting your representatives to get that information. There is a form for facility data that I have available. You'll need utility data for 3 years of actual bills and maintenance history, and they probably will be contacting you for all that information. There are a lot of templates that I have available. These are all links that don't work, but you've done the email, the BOE, request for the BOE. I have evaluation criteria for your use if you want to use it, sample scoring, the MOU for investment grade energy audit, and a sample contract. All these things are already done for you. They're boilerplate. You can use them and change them as much as you want, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Set a deadline for the BOE, that's been done. I think they're in the process now of scheduling their independent visits. I'm assuming you've selected a selection committee. That needs to be done. When you receive the BOEs, allow time for the committee to actually review those things, because those binders are about this big. and they have a lot of information in them about the facilities you selected. And again, if you want me here, I'll have a set of those books and I'll review them as well. I will be at the interviews to give her advice or whoever's on the committee advice on what they're saying. The BOE process is at no cost, which you already know. You're going through this now. You're under no obligation to do anything at the end of this BOE process. Excuse me. Once you're done with that, you can select one or more to be your partner. School system your size, you'll probably select one ESCO. Virginia Beach, they usually select 2 each year. Loudoun County's looking at selecting 2. Chesterfield, I think, had 2. They're narrowing it down to 1. But some of the bigger school systems select more than one ESCO. It's very important to remember right now that at the BOE level, you're not selecting a project, you're selecting a partner. The project comes later when you get the actual investment grade energy audit done, because the numbers behind that audit are bonded and guaranteed by the Code of Virginia. They carry a written guarantee by that company and have to give you a yearly bond on the energy savings for whatever they promise you they'll do. That's what happens at the investment grade audit. Set up a meeting to discuss it. There is a cost associated with the investment grade energy audit. If you move forward, we negotiate that fee. I can't promise you, but lately some of the ESCOs have been doing that at no risk to the school system. That's something we try and negotiate at that point in time. Been successful a couple times, let me say that. ESCO, this is a safety net for you. The BOE, they come back with a report on X amount of work, cost this much energy savings. When they come back with the investment grade audit, for that same work, they have to be within 85% of the energy savings they told you in the BOE and no more than 110% of the cost. Or if there was a fee for that investment grade audit, you can walk away and you don't owe them anything if they don't meet that guideline. And that's a safety net for you to keep them from just putting all kinds of wonderful numbers out there for you to say, oh, well, let's do it. And next thing you know, they come back and say, oh, remember we told you it's going to cost you $500,000 and we were going to save you $1 million in energy? Well, it's actually the opposite. That prevents that from happening. Allow time for your investment grade audit. 3-4 months is typical. Some of the larger school systems, it's even 6. Make sure everyone is in agreement once you get it back. The investment grade, when you get your investment grade audit, it will be exactly that, an investment grade audit that shows you every school, everything that's wrong in those schools, what it would take to fix it, the savings, simple payback on them, everything. All these ESCOs on the list, and I know the 6 that you've selected do, have an interactive spreadsheet where you can sit down and actually look at each school and check the things and say, we really need this, we really need this, we really need this. And it populates everything, tells you all the savings, and puts it into cash flow analysis in a pro forma where you can actually click things on and off to come up with the best project you can do, whatever your priorities are, not the ESCOs. But at the end of the day, you have to have a positive or neutral cash flow each year of the contract. And it's each year because we work on yearly budgets. Some of the ESCOs tried to make it positive by the end, and some of the years would be negative. That means in your operating budget, you'd have avoided energy costs, but you wouldn't have enough to make your payment for the work. So you'd have to come up with money from somewhere else in your budget. That's why it's like that. It has to be positive or neutral every year. Most contracts in schools run 15 years. The code allows you to go 20. I don't recommend it. A couple of school systems have gone 18, but that was only because they had a huge need for roofs and windows that do not pay for themselves entirely, and it's like getting a car and paying for it a little bit longer, a little bit better model. That's what they went with. And that's understandable because, given the climate and the needs that they had in the school system, this is the only opportunity they had to get this done. And there's no increase in taxes. So that's always good for the board of supervisors. I don't know which side this, okay, over here. It's always good for everybody, really. You select the project. Everyone is agreed you have to meet that 85-110 threshold I just talked about. DMME must review and approve all state projects or they cannot do it. They have to have a letter of approval. You get that same review, I can offer that same approval letter to you and it's no cost to you. You have our support throughout the entire process. I'll talk about construction because once you sign a contract, it becomes a construction project. Usually takes anywhere from 6 to 18 months, depending on the scope and complexity. You need good project management. You will have weekly or bi-weekly status meetings. These ESCOs are very good about working in school systems. We have lost no downtime in classrooms or anything for any of these projects. And you get 1, 2, 3 week look-aheads. Things like lighting, they come in at night, do it, and they come in the next day and it's brighter and everything's the way it was when you left the day before. So it's very little interruption to the classroom. Safety, security, documentation, etc. They all know state code, they all know state laws. They have to do background checks on all the people that are coming on site. They do very well with that. People are in uniforms. You don't have a bunch of people walking around in shorts and tattoos and things like that. They're very professional when they come in here and work in your environment. It is a construction project, and if anybody's familiar with it, you're going to have bumps in the road, and we've had some. We've always gotten them straightened out and moved on. A lot of people ask me how the ESCO is paid. Well, once you borrow the money for this, it goes into an escrow account normally. And what they'll do is they'll just give you a schedule of values in the contract that they do this work, they get paid this much. They don't do that work, they don't get paid. And it's a schedule of values like a regular construction project. A lot of people ask, well, everybody asks, how do you know you saved the money, saved the energy? Well, there is an extensive measurement and verification protocol, IPMVP. It's an International Performance Measurement and Verification Protocol, IPMVP. That's what the state has adopted. That's what everyone has to use. And by code, well, let me back up. There are 4 options you can use in IPMVP, and you match the option to the risk that you have with that ECM or energy conservation measure. You do not want to pay $50 to prove you saved 10. Does that make sense? So we match that up with the scope. And again, I'll be there to go through that with you. My support and review. Existing projects, over 66 agencies, public bodies have done an energy performance contract, and many with multiple phases. Through last year, we had over $682 million under contract. Very huge in the Commonwealth, very successful. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Governor's Executive Order 31 he signed, but he's requiring state agencies to do performance contracts, and he even extended it to localities to save energy. It's something big on his agenda. Over 38 school systems have done a PC, many with multiple phases. These are currently in the process at some stage. Warren County, Amherst, Buchanan, Goochland, Isle of Wight, Middlesex, Chesterfield, Page, Scott, Newport News, Maggie Walker Governor School, Middlesex County, Loudoun County, and there's a few I'm talking to right now. Southampton County, I just talked to them. They're getting ready to do some of theirs. Heather had asked for some that had done it. These are existing projects. If you take a look at that, it's pretty extensive at the schools that have done this across the state. And you have this information, so you can read it later. I won't go through it. Pitfalls, everybody always asks about those. You do need early support, top to bottom. Understand your guarantee is in units of energy and not dollars. A lot of people say energy savings, money. These projects work on the premise of they're going to make you, your utility bill is X number of dollars. They're going to make you more energy efficient. So your budget was $100,000, they save you 20, you're now spending 80. That 20 has to be enough to cover the retirement of the debt for the money you borrowed, that yearly payment, that $20,000 left over. So what they're going to do is make you work more energy efficient. You have the same budget, and the money is saved, it's still in the utility budget, and that's what you use to make your payment. And that's by code. Fully vetted scope, we talked about that. Master plan renovations, new school won't matter except that your ESCO will be your energy partner to help oversee the design to make sure it's an energy efficient building. If you have any type of scheduled renovation in any of your schools, we want to take a hard look at that. Most people these days, their 5-year plan becomes their 15-year plan because money's so tight. But we don't want to do anything in buildings you may be on your schedule for renovations. Warranties, all this needs to be in writing, is when it starts, who, what, when. All of these projects come with extensive training for your facilities people. I'm assuming you have in-house people. I really don't know the answer to that. Okay. They will receive extensive training on any systems that are put in these facilities. And it'll be ongoing training at no cost. They all do recommissioning, retro-commissioning, or commissioning of everything they put in. This is a big one that some school systems ask about. You have to have school ready to open August here. They do a lot of work in the summertime. If you need the warm fuzzy of penalties, let's put something in the contract. Let's talk with the ESCO you select and say, if you don't have a school ready to go, this is the penalty. It's on you. Okay? So that can be put in your contract. M&V to match the scope, we talked about that. Proper documentation for everything. This is a biggie. I was the energy manager at George Mason for 19 years. I left there in '06 to come to DMME to do this full-time everywhere across the state. And I talked with some people that did projects back when this first started in 2001, 2002. And they would tell me that so-and-so promised they would do this, and we'd go to that company, and that person no longer works there. And nobody put it in writing. So now we're both sides saying, what are we going to do? So what I do now is make sure that if anything is said, no handshake agreements, you can make them, but it's going to be followed up with some documentation to go in the file so that 5 years from now, I may be gone. I don't plan on it, don't get me wrong. But you don't know who your turnover, what your turnover rate is, so everybody can go to that, open it up, and it's black and white what happened, what agreements were made, and what changes were made. Understand your responsibilities versus the ESCO's. If you have your own maintenance folks, they have to maintain this equipment that's put in. If they don't maintain it, you're not going to receive the energy savings. So you can't hold the ESCO accountable to meet a guarantee when they're falling down. Subsequently, on the other side, if they're not doing something right, then we hold them accountable. So we need that to be written and everybody understand it. Successes, long list of things that we've done: rooftop units, air handlers, variable refrigerant flow systems, roofs, ceilings, plumbing upgrades, fan coil units, variable frequency drives, controls, boilers, steam traps, chillers, windows, security system, voice over IP, humidity issues with the M word I hate to use, so I won't use it, but we've had a lot of schools that had M in the schools, and usually these projects take care of that. It gets taken care of because the humidity issues that cause that are taken care of. Lighting, occupancy sensors, overall improvement of the working environment and the student classroom. Very minimal interruption to the workplace, which here would be the classroom. And ESPC projects have led to a decrease in backlog of maintenance reserve and capital improvement needs across the state, because a lot of these needs are being taken care of through performance contracting. Parting thoughts. This is something a lot of people don't know about this. It's open book pricing. You can look at their books anytime. We negotiate their overhead and profit before the contract is signed. They can't hide anything in there because it's open book. So you know what you're getting before it happens. Unlike any other construction project, which is low bid, you end up paying 50% more through change orders. These projects do not have change orders. If they miss something, they pay for it, and they all understand that. The only change orders that come about is if during the process you decide you want to add something to this project. Then a change order is done to add something to it. Again, overhead and profit and audit fees are negotiated. You get to select the equipment that goes in these facilities, no low bid. Of course, if you say, we want Acme Roadrunner air handlers, I'm just using that so I don't use a brand name, then we make them go out and get bids on that from several people, but you're getting the equipment you want, okay? You get to have a say in subcontractors. They try and use local folks if they can, but they have to be able to meet certain criteria. But if, I'm sure you're like everyone else, you have a list of people you love coming to work here, and you have a list of people you don't want setting foot on your property. That's from experience in doing work. You're able to tell them that, and they will do that for you. If you have a viable project, you're already paying for an ESPC. All you're doing is giving the money to the utility company. Because they can come in, do this project, you pay less to the company, and you can use the money you were giving the utility company to retire the debt and upgrade your schools. So if you have a viable project, you're already paying for it, so you may as well pay for it and get something out of it. Avoided energy costs are bonded and guaranteed by your ESCO. I already went through that. If the ESCO does not meet the savings, they write a check for the difference. They bring their people back in, they find out why they didn't meet it, and they fix it on their nickel. It's a performance contract. We have had that happen in Virginia. ESCOs have written checks. They brought their folks back in, found out what the cause was or something they could do to save more money because they miscalculated, and every one of them had been put back on track. They do not like writing checks. And you have our support, which right now it's just me, throughout the entire process at no cost to the school system. Any questions? I'll be glad to answer them. Yes, sir.
We selected Siemens, Honeywell, Train, Johnson Controls, Pepco, and
Ameresco.
Ameresco. I keep mispronouncing that one.
Yes, sir. 15 years the norm, and I try to keep it at that because a lot of the equipment you put in, the life cycle of that equipment, it starts to get towards the end of it, and I hate for people to be borrowing money to pay for something that's going out longer than the useful life of the equipment. Now, if you get into something that's really heavy and intense and roofs and windows, they'll last 30 years. So going out 18 is fine if they're the bulk of what you're doing. But if it's just a normal PC and you're not doing a lot of that work, I don't recommend going past 15 years. We've had $650,000 projects, most of them for school systems like Amherst County I have a meeting with their dual boards the 16th. They started out at like $3 million in their BOE and they're at like $15 million. That's how much they found when they did it on all the schools. It balloons. We had one school system where it actually showed less savings after the audit, and they chose not to do it because of that, and they walked away. So you're in control. And even if after the investment grade audit, it shows you can do all this, and your appetite isn't for all that, and you want to just bite off this, that's all you have to do. You're in control of the project you want to do. I strongly recommend, with interest rates as low as they are, money as tight as it is, if you have a viable project and you can do it, do the most you can at this time. Because you get everything done right now. Cost of money goes up, cost of work goes up, energy penalty for not doing it is going to cost you more in the future. So it's like the perfect storm for these projects right now.
And if you all will remember from the last meeting, we were discussing this in renovating the elementary schools, using this as a way to renovate the elementary schools. Excuse me.
So I do not oversee it. I work with you, for you, for the process, but I don't tell you what to do. But that makes sense. Yes, ma'am. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I'll even get the ESCOs, when they say something that doesn't sound right, I'll say it in front of whoever's on that selection committee. But give me some more information, that doesn't sound right. Now, when you finally select a partner and you develop your final project, I'll be heavily involved in that to make sure that they're not, I hate to use the term, but it's right, blowing smoke and mirrors, or whatever you want to call it, that they're actual real savings for you. A lot of them put some things in there with operational savings, where you're saving man hours, and they can take those man hours of savings. Well, everybody in the state is so lean on people. Realistically, as an ex-director, if somebody told me they were saving man hours, I'm looking to cut people. Well, you can't cut any more people, so you don't let them do that. It's realistic savings, no will-o'-the-wisp type stuff. It's tangible, that you can put your hands on. There's no cost for what I do to the school system whatsoever. I work for the Commonwealth, and actually a lot of my salary comes from a federal grant because they're pushing this, but I'm a full-time state employee, and this is all I do. I'm actually somebody from Richmond that comes to help. I'm not wearing a suit. No, people tell me that, that's the biggest compliment I've been paid, actually, is people tell me that I'm the only person from Richmond who's ever come to help them. Any more questions from anybody? Okay. Thank you.